Welcome back to another exciting week of fads. My name is Fred, and I'm sitting here with my co-host slash roommate Dokes. So, how are you doing, Dokes?
Not too bad, Fred. How are you?
Good. Summer is definitely here.
Welcome summer.
Yeah. Um, did you get to see the fancy moon the other night?
Did I get to see the fancy moon the other night? No, I did
Me
not.
either. I was in my bed
I did not get to see the fancy moon. I think
for the
that
solstice.
like for the most part, I was up on the 21st. Like Monday was my birthday, so
Oh yeah, happy belated birthday.
happy belated birthday to me. I am now, oh, old. I'm old. Not really. I'm just as old as I want to
Oh
be.
my god.
But no. I enjoyed the summer. It was really nice the last couple of days. I've been working out a little more, so it's nice to get outside, walk, exercise, and do those wonderful things that.
I just realized the cameras were on. I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god, we're on
yeah,
TV.
yeah. It's like
And I'm
yeah,
wearing white, which is not good.
not white I care. It's not terrible because the good thing is
It's not being broadcast, so I'm not.
it's
too
not
upset
being
about
broadcast.
it.
And you see this because of the fact that we're in a television studio.
Yeah, just so the listeners know, we're in a television studio. So when I say cameras, don't get too excited and run to YouTube because it's not going to be
Yeah,
posted online.
no, no,
But we
no.
just happen to record in a studio that
Yeah,
serves as
and
a
so
TV studio.
part of what I do here is in terms of when we do the podcast, I like redundancy, so I record it on our broadcast. I record it on our server, so that if there is a problem with the audio on one end, I have a way of fixing it.
Yeah.
I
That's
have
good.
I have a way out,
Yeah.
and so that's mostly what you see in terms of. So yeah, we're being recorded for television, but that's not
Yeah.
gonna ever show up on that, unless we get like super money off of this, because then I'll do it. It's like, hey, because then we can afford makeup.
No, but yeah, so back to working out. Yeah, I actually I'm starting back at my gym, and I'm actually going to be working with a new trainer, so that'll be interesting and fun, hopefully. And we had our first meeting the other day, and we talked a lot about nutrition and a program, so we'll see
Yeah,
how that works out this time around. But I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. So
yeah. I'm glad for the most part because I have had this Fitbit for almost a year, and
I remember your Fitbit story.
yeah. Well, outside of the fact that I've actually enjoyed it because it does tell me, like, it reminds me I need to keep moving, and so staying active is super important.
Yeah.
But that's how it is. I mean, working out, I don't want to be a handsome corpse.
Oh my god. Yeah, no, that's never a good look. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess we'll jump right into our pop culture of the week. Um, so, so I guess as of last night, there was a big uproar
Finale.
across the Well, so not talking about Game of Thrones yet, but I don't know too much about what are they calling it
The
on Twitter?
Brexit.
The Brexit.
The Brexit.
I haven't. I read about a little bit about it today. So I'm still trying to read up on it and figure out what that means in terms of, like, on a global scale, what that means. So I don't really want to talk too much about it, but I do want to just like make people aware that we are aware of it, and it's probably something that we are going to discuss. I just haven't had enough time to actually sit down with it and
Yeah.
give like, accurate thoughts and give like legit facts about it and not like talk out the side of my neck.
Yeah.
But it is something that I think a lot of Americans don't quite get, I think, and I think a lot of people in Europe don't quite get it either from the reaction that I've been seeing on Twitter and Facebook.
Well, yeah.
But there's a lot of more information about coming out now, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of hearsay, and there's going to be tons of stories in the next few days about what ifs. So, but it'll be interesting to see how the exit is going to affect us on a global scale.
The Brexit. Yeah.
Yeah, I know right now that the stock market is not
Not happy.
Yeah,
They are not having a
and they
good.
predicted that was going to go into tailspin anyway. So
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking at from the larger scale is just kind of reading up on it quickly. I think what really kind of shocked me is that nobody thought about the aftermath and thought about some of the things, because mostly, for me, the way I look at it is there is economic issues and then there are border issues. A lot of people were concerned about the border
yep.
the border issues, and then unfortunately, we live in an age of demagoguery. And then they said, well, it's about money, and the financial issues were not really taken into account too much. And I can't speak for people in England. Unfortunately, the whole thing is, I don't think we live in a world where we can go back to a national economy. We're a global economy. We rely on each other, symbiotic relationship to survive, unless we want to become like North Korea.
Yeah.
Where
yeah.
we don't want that. But in a larger sense, when nobody's going to know what the effects are, the fact of the matter is, I think in hindsight, where people are looking at is what Scotland did this morning, which was they're going to look to have a second referendum on independence, because the majority of the Commonwealth, or the country inside the UK, said, yeah, we wanted to stay in the European Union.
Yeah, because I was reading, because when I read that, I immediately started trying to find information. What does that mean for the Commonwealth? What does that mean for Canada and for Africa and for Australia? Like, what does that mean for the Commonwealth?
It doesn't really mean much for the Commonwealth outside of the relationship, but I think the larger thing is what it means for the United Kingdom. Is now you have, for me, at least from what I'm reading, there's a serious concern here, because okay, Scotland wanted to stay, and the map showed it. For the most part, everybody voted in favor of it. But what somebody pointed out was later is Northern Ireland, because of the European Union, there hasn't been that tension that has been in nearly, for almost over more than 25 years of the tension between them and with all the problems in that particular part of the world. So yeah, many people know Northern Ireland is not part of Ireland; it's part of the United Kingdom. Now, with the United Kingdom being part of that, it allowed for open border and cross, but now you're going to have borders again, and that is a problem. And now you hear, now you're going to have that rhetoric between people who say we should stay with England and Ireland, and people who want to go, people who want to join the larger Republic of Ireland. So who knows what that is? We won't find out for months.
Yeah.
I think the scary part is what, England is much like the United States. It's filled with relatively intelligent people. But it surprised everybody with the way they voted, and it was close.
And it's been interesting because like even from the reaction on Twitter, there's been a lot of articles and stuff, and people come out saying like, well, they were like, well, I voted to leave originally, and then they're like, but after I started reading about the aftermath of it, now I'm not so sure that was the correct vote. And then one person even said, well, I voted no, but I thought I'm one little vote, like my vote really wouldn't count that well, and I'm like, but you're voting, like you're in the booth, and I feel like a lot of Americans have that mentality to bring it back to us, not to make it all about us. But I feel like a situation like that, I hope a lot of people in America wake up and realize that when it comes time for us to vote for our next nation's leader, that they actually take the time to look and see who the two people or people are going to be on that ballot. And also keep in mind that this is not just a presidential election year. Make sure you see what you're voting for locally. Make sure you see what you're voting for locally so that you can be fully prepared to make those educated decisions when you get in the booth.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get in there and then because that's what's going to happen. Especially these first time voters. Because I remember the first time I voted, I thought, oh, president, great, and we had our local elections, but then there were all these things statewide that was on the ballot, and I was like, I just had no idea about it. And like when you're like a young first time voter, that's really what you focus on a lot of time is president, vice president, and like maybe governor. Like you focus on those big things, but then you don't think about like the things that fall underneath the big umbrella. So make sure you're well educated. Look up what's up. Look up who's up for election, what you're voting for, what you're voting against. Make sure you do your research.
Yeah. because when I'm not going to say unfortunately, Donald Trump was in Scotland today, tweeted out something stupid.
Jesus Christ. I know, I saw it. It was,
and the reaction from people in the UK was like, you need to shut the F up.
Yeah.
And so before you start talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
And so or I should say So it's one of those things for me where we won't know what the actual effects are, because right now it's just kind of this. It's basically it's happened.
Yeah.
Britain is, if anybody has watched the last week Tonight Show with John Oliver, I think he laid out the arguments as best as he possibly could as a fellow Briton. And then I have a friend who is also from Britain who explained in arguments in terms of this is what it means. So I looked to those people, they're relatively intelligent to kind of explain that situation, because as an American, I really have no clue.
Yeah. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But like they say, we're at that bridge and we're crossing it now. So
yep, it's like, you hope that it's not on the bridge is not on fire as you walking across it, but who knows?
So another big thing, as we talk about every week, our Game of Thrones recap, we finally got the Battle of the Bastards.
Yes, we did.
So that was super, super exciting. I mean, this episode was intense. Like, it started intense and it ended intense.
It did. But I want to point out, in terms of the first thing when you talk about this episode, was Daenerys Targaryen. I was like, before they got serious, it was like that scene with her and Tyrion was nice. And then the whole thing, we're like, okay, before we get to the Battle of the Bastards, we're going to just finish off this nice thing in Marine.
Yeah. No, yeah. So we got to see all the dragons in action this week, which is super amazing. Dragon came and he pulled his siblings out of the wall, or they bust through the wall and they burnt up the fleet. Like, it was just such a boss move. Like, every time you think that and the thing is, like, I guess as viewers, we know by now that, like, Daenerys is not going to be backed into a corner and, like, go down. And so when they were having their discussion and they were giving their demands, and she was like, "Oh, you're mistaken. This is your surrender, not us."
Guy tries to say, I'm sorry that you have to adjust to this new reality. And it's like, the moment you see that, like, thing drop out of the back of the frame of the thing, and you're like, do they not forget that she has 3 dragons?
I don't know how they missed that. And I mean, like, Grey Worm is, like, right there ready to go at any moment, and she has the entire Dothraki horde around the corner. Like, I'm not understanding how they thought they were gonna get Daenerys to just, like, surrender that easily. But so she had a boss moment that was great. Yara and Theon made it to Marine, and they have a little alliance now. So that's gonna be great to see what becomes of that.
She got there damn quick though.
Yeah. So and then Yara had a moment with with the Daenerys, which was pretty amazing. It was great. So yeah. So I'm glad to see Marine and now to see how Daenerys makes her way across the Great Sea to come to Westeros. Hopefully there will be a Westeros after Cersei is done with her trial.
Yeah, well, yeah. You hope that's something.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Battle of the Bastards, the main event for this. The undercard was Daenerys. The main event was Jon Snow versus Ramsay Snow / Bolton, and this in this story. And I like this. This is the one where,
and naturally, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this one, where have you been the last 10 weeks?
Yeah.
2, man, this was the one that HBO actually submitted this episode for Emmys.
Oh, the Battle of the Bastards?
Battle of the Bastards. They submitted this episode for some Emmys, so I think they're going for Best Writing and Best Direction on this episode.
I mean, everybody was in this episode, too, except for, like, Brienne and Jaime.
Yeah. So you had across the board the story between essentially the wrapping up of the story between Jon and Sansa and or I should say really it's Sansa and Ramsay Snow in terms of what or Ramsay Bolton in this, and that I like what happened.
Yeah, no, it was great. Yeah, I mean, so Recon died, which was no
No
shock to
surprise.
anybody. Like the minute we saw him come onto the screen, 2 or 3 episodes ago, I was like, he's not gonna make
dead.
it. I just already knew. I had no hope in him making it whatsoever. And then Sansa even told John before the battle, he was like, he's going to kill him. Like he's basically the one that like if anything were to happen for like namesakes and like being the true leader of the North, like he has more claim than any of us, and he's going to kill him. Like Ramsay's going to kill him, and he's like, you don't know this guy. Like he's going to kill him, and he killed him. So we knew that was coming. So that was John's bad. But there was one really really cool scene where he was like, when like after he died, and like John was like. It's like John standing there and he's facing Ramsay's entire fleet, and he's just like, F it, I'm just gonna he's like, whatever, I'm gonna go down fighting. And then all the knights just come. Well, and those were Lyanna's knights, right?
Yeah, those were like whoever the families that they had.
Oh, okay, so that was the 62.
62 guys that they had along with
Lady
Lady
Lyanna
and the wildlings. They did that. I think one of the things about that scene that we forget is that, you know, being the son of Ned Stark, quote unquote, the Starks have this fatal flaw, and we saw what happened in Ned Stark in the first season. He lost his head. We saw what happened to his brother. Robb Stark, the second season, in the Red Wedding, because he believed people to be honorable and true. And Sansa's like, I ain't having this dude. This dude is gonna, like, whatever you think is right, and do the opposite.
And that's gonna be interesting, because Sansa has dealt with Ramsay, so she knows how that game is played, and she knows. And Arya's been out in the world, so Arya knows how people actually are in the world. So when Arya comes back, she's gonna have all that experience. You have Sansa, who's basically a boss right now, and then you have Bran, who's doing whatever Bran's been doing for the past 3 years or whatever. It's like everybody's gonna have all this worldly experience, and here comes Jon Snow, who's a great swordsman and has been part of the Night Watch, but doesn't really get it. But at the other end, Jon Snow really knows what Winter Coming is about. You know, so while they might be still thinking, oh, we need to get revenge and we need to get for the throne, Jon Snow is thinking, no, F that. There was going to be no throne. Because there's a way bigger threat out there.
There's what's coming
than the freaking Lannisters.
And I think the other thing is, it's also that moment where you realize where Jon Snow is still Jon Snow, because he wanted to do the right thing. And, you know, like they said last year, he got stabbed for it. He got killed.
And this show is just not for, like, good people. Like, this show is not made for good people. Like, it's just not. Like,
you know, Sam can be that good character. But John needs to be a badass and really needs to kind of say, you know, it's like, look, man, you've done all this. You need to take care of it.
No, but that was great though. So that happened. It looked bleak for a while, but we knew they weren't going to really lose, but they had to make it as believable as it possibly. And then Jon Snow got in some trouble and looked like he might bite the dust again. And then there was that whole scene with him telling the Red Witch not to raise him anymore, or not to raise him, which is interesting to me, because I'm like, so Recon dies, and is no one gonna try to bring him back? Like, they're just gonna be like, well, bye, Recon.
No, I mean, like,
or maybe they can't bring him back because he's not, you know,
the chosen.
So that there could be a little bit of that going on, but I mean, Recon's been gone for 6 seasons. It was like, I actually forgot he was even.
He's been gone since season 2 or 3.
So I mean, I'm sad that actor isn't getting a check, but I forgot he was even there. So I mean, what are you gonna do? But this week should be interesting though. I think this week, which technically you guys will have seen last night by the time this episode comes out, is going to be Cersei's trial. And what else is going to be going on? So
they're gonna tie up some loose ends. So you're gonna have the majority of it's probably gonna be on Cersei's trial, and then we're gonna see
Cersei and the trials. I guess we should say the trials.
Loras Tyrell's trial. How that's gonna turn out.
I still think Marjorie has something up her sleeve, and a lot of people have been saying no. I'm like, Marjorie has something up her sleeve. She has to. She absolutely, like, Marjorie has something up her sleeve.
And the thing is, I don't know how it's going to turn out, particularly because here's the thing: the actor who plays Lars Tyrell is going to be Netflix Marvel's Iron Fist. And, whenever that starts shooting, I know that they've started shooting the Defenders series already before season 2, before they've already done some other seasons. So they're starting to do that. So he's on set. He's probably in best shape of his life. So I don't have much hope for Loris after this episode because of that contractual obligation. But we'll see.
I hope they don't kill him off because that's really the only gay character they have on this show besides Yara.
No, okay. So one, that's not like they switch on a dime. They will make somebody else. They will make somebody else that character, and so maybe that's why they did it with Yara, because the whole point was like, yep, okay, we're gonna lose him.
We need a lesbian.
Boom, here you go.
Bring in the badass lesbian.
Yeah. So and that's where we're at. I mean, they'll probably do a. I'm not going to mention the book, so I'm not going to mention the book. I promise you, I will not mention the book.
It's fine. I mean, sometimes you can't help it. It's fine.
Yeah, if they do what I think they're going to do, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
it's a nice way to write him off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they bring us back to Dorne and see how they wrap that up.
Yeah.
But I heard just rumor mill that that the actress and the actor that were I guess the prince and sister that played opposite each other, they didn't really care for each other in real life, and so there was some
they're killing off and on. I mean, the whole thing is
there was some drama on set and stuff, so but that could be true, could be false, but there's also that Lena the Cersei's character,
Lena
Headley, and what's the guy's name that's with Jamie's
Braun.
Yeah, I heard that they are not really the best of friends in real life as well. So that's why you don't see them on screen very much. But that could just be Hollywood rumor, whatever, talk just to kind of, whatever. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if the women in Dorne even care anymore about the throne.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the idea is that they left that very much hanging. That's been not answered.
Yeah,
they've killed off
one.
They've killed off most of the essential cast that they're not going to be using, or at least they believe whatever the next few seasons. They've killed off most of those cast, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but hopefully we'll have something. We'll see. We'll be talking about that for the next week. When it's over to find out,
and then we'll have to wait another year.
Yeah, but we'll have other stuff to talk. There'll be all this other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, because Netflix has some really gross stuff coming up, like Luke Cage in September. I'm really excited about that. That'll be really cool.
Mm-hmm. But you're watching a series now that I have no...
Yeah, so I'm not going to talk that much about it because it's been very triggering for a lot of people. So Orange is the New Black dropped their new season, season 4, I believe. I thought it was really good. It was extremely dark. It's darker than the usual other seasons have been. They hinted on a lot of stuff that's going on in the real world, especially in regards of Black Lives Matter and race and culture and ethnicity. So it was interesting to see them put those ladies through that in jail. They're in prison. And they're not here to glorify prison. And there's a lot of stuff that I've learned even watching this, and the easy comparison is Oz. There's a lot of stuff that I've learned that I didn't even really know about the prison system and the privatization of the prison system and what they actually go through and how we know that prison is not fun and it's a crappy situation. It's a crappy situation. But when you actually see these stories and know that some of the stories that they do on the show are have been based on real life stories, it's like crap. That's that's a hard pill to swallow,
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten some flack about how they've done some of the storytelling and the writers not really being people of color and how they're portraying people of color and some of the things they've been saying. And so there's been a lot of back and forth, and I didn't really see it. I didn't really see when I went on initially watch just because I was watching for the actors and for the storytelling, and I think the actors do a fantastic job. I think the storytelling is really good. I mean, of course, there's some issues with the show and how they portray some things, but that aside, though, I still think the acting is just really, really top notch on Orange is the New Black. There was a character death this season, so spoiler alert if you have not seen it, you can fast forward about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5. One of the most beloved characters on the show died. Her name is Pusey, and she was played by Samira Riley, I believe. Um, I mean, that was a hard pill to swallow. And the way that she died was very reminiscent of the Eric Garner case because the cop was kneeling on her back and she couldn't breathe, and it was doing a peaceful prison riot, like a stand-in.
Sit
And
in or
so,
hunger strike usually.
yeah, so they were doing a stand-in. I guess is technically what they were calling it. And so to see that happen, and the thing is, the way they set it up, it happened so fast that you didn't realize it was happening until the characters realized what was happening, and then the audience realized at the same time. It just happened so fast, and it was interesting because I read an article with her because she knew about it way before everybody else did because they were like, it's her character, so they told her what was going to happen. So she knew about it like while they were shooting this season, and because like they don't get the script sometime until they get ready to film like that scene or that episode. And so she told like a few people that like were really close to her on the set and stuff, but she was like she didn't let a lot of people know. So when they read it, they were like, oh my god, oh my god. And so it was interesting because the new guards that they brought in this season were like complete assholes, and they were like total like what you would think of when you think of the police brutality and how they overuse their power. But then there was one guard who was like kind of sort of, he wasn't really that kind of an asshole of a guard, but he was just kind of like doing his job, and he was still kind of a jerk, but he was kind of a douchebag, but not like intentionally being that way. And he was the one that actually ended up killing her by accident, and it was completely an accident, like he wasn't maliciously trying to harm her or anything. And so to see that happen and to see these young men's life just get turned upside down, and but then to see how the corporation was like trying to spin it to be like, well, we can't say it was an accident because clearly we have to blame the inmate, but they couldn't find anything on her on social media, and they were like digging through her social media to be like, well, there she was this pic and say she was a gang member and blah blah blah. They couldn't find anything on social media to blame her, so it was like, well, F it, let's spin it and say the cop was a bad cop. So they found like a random picture online, and we all know how it happens in real life whenever somebody, especially a person of color, gets like gunned down in the street or whatever. They love to go into our Facebook and Twitters and find like the Halloween costume when we were like
Nelly.
whatever, yeah. And then they're like, this is who was shot in the street. But they don't pick our graduation photos when we're like getting our masters walking across stage at Harvard University, though. They don't, that's not the picture they want to put up. And so it was really interesting just to see them do that dichotomy of like real life happening on screen. But there were some things that like could have been handled a little better, especially when it comes to like telling the stories of people of color. And so I think when you don't have people of color in the writer's room, you're gonna run into that issue, I think. So I mean, I still think it was a good episode, a good series, a good season. I still like it. I think they got renewed for season 5 already anyway, so I think
Yeah, I mean, as long as Netflix is making money.
yeah. And so I mean, I think it was good. And I mean, an actress that played her is fantastic, and she is going to go on and do great things. And I mean, but it was one of those situations where it hit me hard. Like I was in bed like crying like 2 o'clock in the morning. Like it was a rough scene. Like it was because her character was so well written. Like we were so invested in her, and this was the season that like she like found a purpose out when she was going to get out of jail, and she had made this huge connection with someone that was going to be able to put her in a position to actually get her life back on track. And so to see all these things fall into place for her and then it be taken away in like a blink of an eye, it's like, oh shit, it's like wow,
And that's what happens. I mean, that happens in real life too. So
yeah.
I'm not an Orange is the New Black person. It's one of those things where I initially saw it and I just couldn't get into it. And I know it's a huge thing on the internet. Huge thing in the world right now, and people, much like Game of Thrones, it's just a show I can't get into.
Yeah, no, it was good though. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know anything else that's on Netflix that's like coming out that I'm gonna like really excited about besides Luke Cage. I'm rewatching Supernatural for Supernatural fans out there, so that's happening.
Yeah. But needless to say, we will always have something to talk about on this show.
Yeah, well, we're gonna go see Independence Day, so we can talk about that next week.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for pop culture. I can't think of anything else that's like super happening. I mean, it's not football season. The
No,
Sox are not.
The NBA draft was last night.
Yeah.
Not to say that there are things that Boston fans aren't happy, but
Oh, and the Cavs won, so that
yeah,
was that was
the
good.
Cavs
So,
won.
con-
So
congrats
congratulations,
to.
LeBron. Now you
Mhm.
can't win anymore. Put Cleveland on your back. Awesome. They have a championship, but you can't win anymore.
Why can't he win anymore?
All right. So I mean, like it's like understanding. Just no, just no more championships for you.
My coworker actually said in like Game 5, he said that the Cavs were going to win because Steph Curry was starting to choke, and I was like, "That's weird." But he was like, "But I think I understood what he was saying. I think it was because he thought Steph Curry was getting kind of too big for his britches. I guess is what he was trying to started trying to say,
That
and
dude
like."
is
It is interesting to me how like everybody predicted the Golden State Warriors to come in and like take this. Like everybody predicted it, especially when it was 3-1. They were like, "Well, there's no way the Cavs are gonna win." Like nobody in their right mind would have put their money on the Cavs,
no.
but whoever did got paid. But
Got paid. You definitely got paid. The way I look at it is this: I wanted LeBron James to win for Cleveland because I think Cleveland, the city of Cleveland, really needed. He needed to kind of wipe the slate clean after he unceremoniously left all those years ago to go to Miami, where he only won 2 championships, and so. For all the hype and all that cause, they only won 2 championships when they cut out a dynasty. Now, when you look at it from their standpoint, it's just nice, but you don't need anymore, dude. He's guaranteed Hall of Fame. There's nothing wrong else you can do. It's going to be hard for that, Cleveland being such a small market. It's going to be hard for them to kind of keep that team together as much as they possibly can. Without feeling the financial crunch, because you got to pay. They were lucky when they got Kyrie Irving. They traded for Kevin Love. You can't pay for all those players.
Yeah.
That's just going to be impossible. And so repeating is going to be hard. So enjoy it while you can. You beat one of the best teams in basketball.
Well, I mean, Beyonce was at the game, and LeBron is a big Beyonce stan, so maybe her and Jay-Z are by the team.
Well, no. Okay, one, he can't buy the team because
Well,
he
I
owns
know
it,
he can't
because
because
this is me being a former New Jersey Nets fan and being mad because all these years he was the owner, 3% owner, mind you, of this team, and all that hype for Jay-Z did not do the Nets any good.
Well, I thought he couldn't buy the team because he's a sports agent now, so it would be like a conflict of interest.
Well, it's conflict, but he already owned the Nets before he went into did Rock Sports Nation.
Oh, okay.
He already owned the team. He only owned 3% of the team, and everybody act like he was going he's going to bring all these changes. And so,
Well, I knew that even as a person that's not a sports fan, I was like, he doesn't own enough percentage of the team to really do anything.
No, but they were hoping his influence would have affected people coming there, and it didn't, because the writing on the wall. No agent is stupid. It's like, why would you want to go to New Jersey? They're in the midst of this thing, but we're going to Brooklyn. It's going to be awesome. And you got Jay-Z, and then Jay-Z, and I knew it. The moment they got over there, Jay-Z was gone, and the owner was gone. And without going and having my sister yell at me into the tirade that I usually go into in this particular subject, I'm just gonna stop. But no, it's congratulations, LeBron. Steph Curry, you're still a great basketball player. You have nothing to hang your head down. You'll probably win it again next year.
Steph Curry still has all the money. He has a beautiful family, and his wife is gonna get a cooking show on Food Network. They're fine.
They're fine, yeah.
And Riley has a bright career in front of her. She is adorable, so they're fine.
Just another day living in the hood. Just another day around the way. Feeling good today. Feeling lovely.
Welcome back to the Children of the 90s. And last week we talked about Will Smith, but we're going to talk about another influential person, particularly a woman.
Giovanni's fave.
Really?
Yes.
Are you, okay.
I wish I had the soundbite of him singing UNITY.
Oh.
He legit knows it word for word.
So we're going to talk about East Orange, New Jersey's own Dana Owens, aka Queen Latifah.
Miss Dana Owens.
Huh?
Miss Dana Owens.
Miss Dana Owens, aka Queen Latifah.
Khadijah.
Khadijah, yeah, Khadijah James, and we're gonna talk about it because, like, much like Will Smith, is Queen Latifah, like, you know, Will Smith had this meteoric rise, and he's still in the picture today. You know, in our media today, he's coming out in the Suicide Squad movie, not the Suicide movie, Suicide Squad movie later this year. But underneath that, many people forget that Queen Latifah was this other person of a hip hop background that just came on the scene. And, you know, she was actually on 2 episodes of Fresh Prince.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
She was on 2 episodes of Fresh Prince.
He was just his love interest, doing his date in one of them. Yeah.
And so you have that, but, you know, she was a major hip hop artist, influenced a lot of people. Her and Flavor Unit gave rise to Naughty by Nature, which we all know and love. Another East Orange, New Jersey group. And when rap was really expanding, and, you know, it put Jersey on the map, which is near and dear to my heart. But Flavor Unit, she was part of Native Tongues, and so you would have heard her a lot on Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, Jungle Brothers records. You just had all these things, and then she blew up. You know, she had her album All Hail the Queen. All Hail the Queen, and then the one I'm trying to remember the name with Unity, and then Just Another Day. And but after that, she just kind of blew up on the scene because then she got Living Single, and I was talking before we started recording the show. This for me, you know, when we started doing the Children of the 90s, we talked about Waiting to Exhale. This to me, Living Single was a positive. I had a much more positive experience with Living Single than I had with Waiting to Exhale. Yeah. But she made that show. It wasn't
as heavy as Waiting.
It wasn't as heavy. But when they dealt with those subjects, you know, it's like they dealt with it in a funny manner.
It was in a comedic manner. Yeah. So Living Single was definitely like one of those shows that, like, growing up in the South, even though I was born in Houston and raised in Houston, so I was like 11 or 12, but I was always spending every summer since like childbirth at my grandparents' farm until we moved there in Louisiana. Until when I was 12 years old. But even growing up like in Houston, like watching shows like Living Single is like what made me kind of have this idea of what living in the city would be like, living in New York City would be like. And so I always pictured myself like growing up and living in New York City and like having like this like fabulous roommate and having these like quirky neighbors and like going on these fun dates and like doing all these fun things or running down to Atlantic City for the weekend. Like that was in my mind's eye. That was like what I thought New York was gonna be, you know? And it certainly can be that for you if you know, have a certain amount of money in your bank account. but no, I mean, so I've been so naturally I knew about Queen Latifah when I was younger because my brother is like a huge hip hop head, and that's where most of my hip hop knowledge comes from. But I didn't really, I guess, start paying attention to Queen Latifah until Living Single. Like that's when I like I knew who she was and I knew the popular songs, but I wasn't like immersed in it until Living Single when I was like, oh, what is this? And then Living Single, you also had
Kim
Fields, who we all know.
Yeah, you had Kim Cole, Kim Fields,
and Kim Coles, yeah.
Kim Cole,
and then Alexander. I can't think of her name right now. Maxine Shaw from across the street, who was on Cosby, who was on the Cosby Show.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's Alexander. I think her name was Pam Alexander.
I can't look it up. I can't think of her name right now to save my life.
But you had that. You had T.C. Carlson and John Hennison. And so John Hennison was a comedian, really a comedian from Cleveland, who really makes really good jokes back in the day. And it was awesome to see him like Uptown Comedy Club and Apollo Comedy Hour when those shows were on the air. Playing Overton. And him and Kim Cole's character is like, because you had this diversity of the black community.
Erica Alexander.
Erica.
Yeah.
Erica Alexander. So you had this diversity of the black community with the cast.
Exactly.
So you had
And I think that's one of the things that made that show so interesting, because you can kind of sort of like no matter where you were from the country, whether you're from the city, whether you were lived in the suburbs, whether you lived in the, like, no matter who you were, where you were, what your background was, like, you could find yourself in one of these characters, you know, like Queen Latifah, or Khadijah was like the girl, like Queen Latifah is the roundaway girl who could hang out with anybody, but also very smart and driven. And then here comes Sinclair, the kind of sort of country cousin who's like wide-eyed girl, kind of like Mary Tyler Moore in the city. Doesn't know what's going on, and she's this innocent girl. Then you have Maxine Shaw, strong, black, independent lawyer. Then you have Regine, really bougie, all about appearances. So like you like even in your clique, like even in my clique of friends, like we all had our person that we like identified with, you know.
Yeah,
and then you had like Overton, who was like the handyman and really country and just the everyday guy. You know, Kyle Barker was like the super suave, intelligent, smart, rich guy. So it's like
it was like you look at him as like Overton was like it's like I remember. I mean, like overall this is about Queen Latifah, but it was just a great cast of people, and I enjoyed it because they had Heavy D on it. They had Grant Hill on there.
Yep.
Grant. I love one of the scenes where Grant Hill was like, Kim Fields' character Regine was into him. He's like, give me, because she was a gold digger. I mean, like that's essentially what she was. She was trying to land herself a man.
Oh yeah.
In terms of that, so it's like, and it was the idea that you had this diversity in the community, and Grant Hill liked Khadijah James. He liked Queen Latifah's character. And it's like,
they even had one of the WNBA stars on there.
Yeah, it was. They had Cheryl Miller, who was like Cheryl Miller who was her rival,
her nemesis in high school.
And so you had this wonderful diaspora that you could talk about, and every character was a character that you could identify with. Pam, she was powerful and knew what she was doing. Like she was a lawyer on that show. I forget what Kyle Barker was doing.
He was a stockbroker, I think.
Stockbroker, and they had a variety. But Pam was like, that neighbor that would come in and is like, just eat your food, and he was like, don't. Sorry, Maxine would just come in and eat your food, and then it just she'd be just like, she'd be just hawking all over them, just like, why are you taking our food, man? You have your own house and your own apartment.
Yeah, and that's what I always figured. I was like, she's the only one here that lives on her own in this beautiful brownstone. I'm like, how is she able to do this? And then everybody else, and like Khadijah has 2 roommates, like, and owns her own business.
Yeah.
And Kyle Barker's like successful, stockbroker, New York guy, and he still has a roommate. But here comes Maxine Shaw on her own, just doing her thing. And it was also interesting because all their moms on the show were actually like their real life mom, which was really, really cool.
Was their real life
But
mom.
then Regine's mama is Penny's mama anyway, so we had seen her acting before anyway.
Yeah. And so I love that series, and it was one of those things for me, and we'll talk about the idea of like the influence of because the 90s was kind of this thing of you really saw hip hop and people of color represented very well on television. Fox was a great vehicle for that, and that's where was a great vehicle for that. And we'll talk about some of the other shows on there later. But man, it was great to see this, and it was great for Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
And that really helped her, launch her career.
Yeah, she was like a household name after. I mean, she was already really big with the music scene anyway, but then when that came out, she became a household name. And then she jumped over to the big screen.
Yeah.
And of course, she had, like, I'm looking at your list here. Jungle Fever, House Party, Juice, great movies. But like, I guess the one that, when you think of a Queen Latifah movie, like the one that you automatically, that jumps in your head and set it off.
Yeah.
Like that has to jump in.
And even outside of that was another movie where, again, all power to black women. Had no problem with that over Waiting to Exhale. I enjoyed that film. Apparently, Fred has a story has a moment where he's like, there's a scene he can't get through.
Well, there's just certain movies that like I can only see them one time because of the like scenes that happen. And hopefully I'm not spoiling this for anybody, but Queen Latifah's character dies in this, and the way that she dies is just such a like a badass boss moment.
Yeah.
But it's still like very hard because it's like, damn, they took Queen Latifah,
It's so cool. Well, I mean, that entire film, but I mean, like, the other thing about this, it brought her to the forefront, but it also started this vicious rumor that, like, Like no, and
it was already a rumor
it
before
was
the
already
movie
a
came
rumor, but
out.
the idea was it just like it was just bad because the idea was like how it was brought up.
I actually, I like the idea that she played a lesbian in the show and that she was like a stud in the show as well. Because when you see her, and I feel like that, I don't know, I haven't looked at like the behind the scenes stuff, but I feel like maybe that might have been some of her doing, or even if it wasn't, I feel like she might have really liked that because it kind of showed a completely different side of her. Because we were used to the rapper Queen Latifah, and then we were used to seeing her as Khadijah James, the soft, hip hop chick that runs Flavor magazine, but still is very quote unquote what we think feminine should be and what feminine is. And so to see her be completely opposite of that in the movie was like, wow, and that's when we really got to see the acting shots. We like, well, damn, like she can. Like,
I love that
because
her character in this movie was a car thief, and so like she got out of jail and was like this, and when they were getting the getaway, she'd like look in the car and she'd be like tossing out the cassettes because she didn't like the music, and that's how they got caught because she kept tossing out the cassettes if they had.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But yeah. So Set It Off is one of those movies that like, and again, Set It Off is one of those movies that I guess especially for people around our age when that movie came out, that was about that time that like we were going through puberty at that time. We were really starting to come into our own and pick our own identities, pick our own style of music and movies and what we were gonna like and what was shaping us. So when we saw that, it was like. That was like a great film, and then when it came out on VHS, because yes, VHS was around when it came out. It's like that was one of the movies that you get with get with your friends and you'd watch it.
That was like an event. You'd go like it was. You could watch that movie, and like I said, this is a movie I could watch. Again, with my Waiting to Exhale experience, I had no problem with Set It Off. I enjoyed it because I thought it was empowering to women. It was like we had talked about it earlier. It was like the black version of Thelma and Louise with 4 women and playing different characters with all different motives, which all these women went on to great things on the screen outside that.
Yeah, well, Kimberly Elise, Jada Pickett, and Vivica Fox.
Yeah,
it's like, well, goddamn, like it's like 4 of the like royalty in terms of like 90s black women doing their thing.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's like that was. Like it was them,
Yeah.
Like all they really needed was like Halle Berry, and it'd have been,
Yeah. But that was that film, and that was important, and that was that. She was in other films in terms of that. So Hoodlum with the Lawrence Fishburne, where he played Bumpy Johnson, Notorious Crime Boss in Harlem in the 30s. There was Spear, where she had a minor role where she got, unfortunately that was unceremoniously killed off by jellyfish. But you can't have more than 2 black people in the film because Samuel L. was in there, so she had to, die.
And it's like if we're gonna save one,
it's not gonna be Queen Latifah.
Sorry, Dana.
Oh,
excuse me.
And then the other one is the Bone Collector,
which I haven't seen, and I know it's been out.
It is
forever.
It's been out for years. But
I know, and it's probably one of those movies where I probably have seen, but I've only seen like bits and pieces of it, so I need to sit down and like actually watch it.
It's a good film,
and it comes on cable all the time.
It does come on cable all the time. I think one of the things where, in terms of this, her role was very minor, but it was also important because anybody who has not seen The Bone Collector, it got kind of canned in the theaters, but it's Denzel Washington, Angelina Jolie, and Queen Latifah's in this movie as well, and it even has Luis Guzman. It has all these established, I'm going to call them tri-state actors for the most part, that were big at the time, and it's a good movie, just a good movie, action thriller, enjoy it, and that was one of her roles. And all this kind of realized by the time of it, and I know this was not shot in the 90s, but this is what got her the Oscar nomination was Chicago. And when I looked at it, when we were doing the research on this, or at least when I was doing the research on this, I was like, man, she had a larger film biography than Will Smith had in his 90s, but he got a lot of bigger, more starring roles. But she had more consistent work.
Yeah.
And then with that consistent work, got her that role in Chicago. where she got Oscar nominated.
Yeah.
Got an Oscar
And like,
nomination
and
for
we
it.
knew she could sing because so there's an episode on Live It Single where they have this flashback to like 90s doo-wop group, and it's one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
And it's an
Is
episode
that-
where Maxine Shaw is the star actually, but then something happens where I don't know something happened, and then Khadijah being the story, and it kind of sort of is like an ode to like the Supremes and Dreamgirls and Sparkle and like just kind of that sort of whole thing. But there's like drama and stuff, so we knew she could sing. But then Chicago came out, and then that's when like everybody else in the world was like, oh, Queen Latifah can sing. Then she put out her jazz album.
Yeah, see, this is where understanding. Not only that, let's not forget, she also had a talk show.
Yeah.
She had the Queen Latifah
And I
show.
loved her talk show.
It's like she had this Queen Latifah show. It was on in the early 90s to 2000, right after Living Single ended.
No, the Queen Latifah talk show was actually like late 2000s.
No. She had it twice. There's two.
Oh, okay.
So there was one after Living Single died, where it was her, and it went on for like, and then she really kind of got into her acting career.
Okay, I just know the second one.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
second
know
one.
the first one.
But she had one earlier than that, and so they brought it back.
Yeah, because the second one was the one that introduced us to the Ashanti Scoot. And if you don't know what the Ashanti Scoot is, please run to YouTube and look up Ashanti Queen Latifah performance. And if Ashanti ever hears this, she'll probably block me for it. But girl, you should have known.
Yeah.
The Ashanti Scoot was like internet meme famous for like a minute after that happened. But anyway, go do yourselves a favor and look up the Ashanti Scoot. It's amazing.
But I mean, like the other thing for that was, here's a person who grew up in New Jersey, not too far from where I grew up, literally like 2 towns over. And in terms of that, who had this tremendous career that was inspirational, not just to black women, but just to black people in general. Because if you're a black person living in New Jersey, you hear just another day around the way. That's like, that's an anthem. That's an anthem. You could play that and everybody remembers right where they were when they had that. And she's talking about the bricks. Shout out to those who know what the bricks is.
It's like if they played a DJ Jubilee record in the South, but then when they play "Get It Ready" at the function, everybody runs to the floor. Or if you hear the opening chorus to "Back That Ass Up," it's
Ding,
one of
ding,
those
ding,
for
ding,
New
ding.
Jersey, like
Yeah.
what "Back That Ass Up" is for Louisiana for us.
It's like that. You hear
Yeah.
that, and it was just like you hear her. She's pouring her heart out, and it just it put us on the map. It put Jersey on the map. It gave us again "Naughty by Nature."
Oh, naughty by nature.
Yeah, but like she laid when you think about the people that she was attached to, like again she gave us Flavor Unit. And the people that were, attached to that, without Queen Latifah, we probably wouldn't have the Fugees. Without Queen Latifah, we wouldn't have, Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul. These are major native tongue people, which gave us Mos Def, aka Yasin Bey, and Talib Kweli.
Yeah.
And her influences, and nice to see her get back in there. I went back recently on Spotify and listened to her albums, and I just was like, it's not the same. It's just not the same, because she went from doing her jazz stuff back into hip hop. She had a song with Missy Elliott, had songs with Busta Rhymes, and it's just like you're trying to recapture that '90s hip hop glory. And I just kind of wish it's one of those moments, because another person that went that route was Eve. And so she had Eve blew up on the scene late '90s.
Yeah.
And they gave her a television show, and it didn't quite have the same effect.
I loved her TV show. That was great.
Didn't quite have the same effect, but you had that, and now, when we talk about female MCs in the world,
But there's, I think, might have been Nicki Minaj. I've been talking to Quincy about it, but she was like, there comes a point in time when whether it was a woman MC or whatever it is, like every MC comes a point in time like you can't, like you don't want to be 60 years old rapping about what you're rapping about when you were 20.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I think she's so diverse. Like she diversified her package, because she can rap, she can sing, she can act, she can direct. Like she was just in the Wiz. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's for like, again, this is childhood nostalgia stuff, because again, she, like, for me, it's like she even more than like Redman or Naughty, she put Jersey on her back, and that was
Yeah.
like when she put really, and outside of that, it's her and Lauryn Hill that really kind of put them on the back, and where you have those memorable moments of two women who, like, and Lauryn Hill never had the kind of, was on that Queen Latifah trajectory because you saw her in Sister Act, you had all these things, but
Yeah.
Taxman got that money.
Yeah, I mean, and even most recently, she was nominated. Queen Latifah or Dana Owens was nominated for Bessie, and actually, I think Lady Gaga got that award over her. Which Lady Gaga was great in American Horror Story, so I'm not going to take that away from her. A lot of people were pissed off about it, whatever. But I mean, if you haven't seen Bessie, please go watch Bessie. I don't know if it's on demand or not, but it's
Yes.
good. Like Queen Latifah
It is.
so freaking good. Queen Latifah, Monique, Tika Sumpter, and what's that? What's the comedian's name? Mike Epps.
Mike Epps, yeah.
It's so freaking good. And if you actually play the BioShock games, the BioShock 2, one of the like main songs that you hear over and over again is a Bessie Smith song, actually. So so a little shout out to the BioShockers out there that also are fans of jazz and Queen Latifah. But definitely. So shout out to 90s. Children of the Night segment, Queen Latifah. Yeah, she's definitely a staple in the 90s, and to see her still thriving in 2016 is just so amazing, because there's so many people that were huge in the 90s that are just don't have that impact anymore, and it's sad, but it's
and again, when you think about it, it's her and Will Smith, and like those two people who left this impression, they are still working out there. It's not like it's, we can talk about Whitney Houston unfortunately passed. All the people that we used to talk about back in the day just don't have that impact anymore. They're just not there. And
and there's some that I'm sure we're going to talk about as well. Especially, I find it more the music scene than in the like TV realm, because there's a lot of TV stars that were big in the 90s, but they kind of started their career in the 80s, kind of sort of. You could say, and they made it through the 90s, and they're still kind of working. But someone that like
consistently,
naturally, she's a little bit older than us, but she was influential at that time that we were hip hop really had that huge surges, and they were like going towards the R&B hip hop sound, and then everybody had the TV shows, and which will be, I think, an interesting segment to talk about the history of black TV in the 90s versus today.
well, there's again, me being a TV person, there's a formula for that I learned about, which was when I got to college, which is this idea, and we'll talk about it because there's a ton of shows. Fox and the now CW network made a killing off of that, and now look where we are. Do we really need to have the O Network and BET to kind of have these things for the outlet? So that's all I gotta say. And we'll save that for another time.
Well, it's the LA, the TI, the FAHUCY, the QEE, and is the reason I must be myself.
What is on the tap for the recital hour, Fred?
Yeah. So recital hour pick of the week is going to be, no rhyme or reason why I picked this aria other than it's just been on my mind. I don't know why for the past week, and I think it's just a sign from God probably saying I should actually look at this role. So this week we're going to talk about, or I would like everyone to listen to, the aria from Rigoletto, sung by the Duke. So I guess actually it's technically it's a recitative / aria. So it's Ella mi fu rapita, and then the aria is Parmi vere le lagrime. Just a short recap about the story of Rigoletto. It's composed by Verdi, and it's the central story around Rigoletto, who is a court jester, the Duke, who is a womanizer and just a horrible person all the way around, and Rigoletto's daughter, Gilda. And so the Duke basically sees Rigoletto's daughter, Gilda, at church and falls in love with her and lies to her and says that he is a student studying somewhere else because the Duke does have a reputation. And Rigoletto has kept his daughter inside and away from the public eye and from everyone. And so there's a huge confusion that happens, and people think that Rigoletto... So actually what happens is Rigoletto assaulted an aristocrat's daughter. An aristocrat comes to a party. He curses everyone. Everyone thinks that, and this is when they think that his curses have real power. So Rigoletto goes home to his daughter, happy to see his daughter, and so the townsfolk just decide that they hear this rumor that Rigoletto has taken a mistress. So they decide, oh, we're gonna, kidnap this mistress. In actuality, it's his daughter. So they kidnap Gilda, and in this act, in Act 2, Rigoletto has discovered that Gilda has been kidnapped, and so this is actually kind of him having this actually like quote unquote genuine tender moment, singing about the love of her and how she's so pure and how she must have felt when when she was taken away and what she must be going through. And then it comes to find out that the Rigoletto actually helps them kidnap his daughter, but they ended up duping him no pun intended, duping him actually, and tricked him into thinking they were actually kidnapping someone else. And so through another series of unfortunate events, Rigoletto does end up getting reconnected with his daughter, but it's too late because she has actually been stabbed. And so it ends in a very, very, very sad duet between he and his daughter. But the recording that I love, that I listen to the most, is the recording with Robert Mero as Rigoletto, Alfredo Kraus as the Duke, and Anna Moffo as Gilda. You can get that recording on iTunes. I think it's on Tidal and Spotify as well. But no, it's definitely on Apple Music. There's also tons of recordings online. There's actually, I think there might be an actual movie version of it, and I couldn't find it for some reason online today, and I could be confusing that with the Traviata movie version. But if there is one, I'll let Dokes know, and he'll post it on the page. But please, everybody, go listen to, if you have time, listen to the entire Rigoletto. But definitely, though, the recital hour pick of the week is the tenor aria Ella mi fu oh shoot, I know I was gonna get this wrong. Ella mi fu rapita, and the Por mi vedere le lagrime. So yeah, and if you put it in YouTube, the first one that's gonna pop up is probably gonna be the Pavarotti version, which naturally is a great one. I like the Pavarotti version. I like the Kraus version. I like the Domingo version and the Jose Carreras version. I love the Jose Carreras version actually, so that's really a good one too. So yeah, that's the recital hour pick of the week.
Awesome. I have to listen to that. I think I actually have that album with those artists.
We do actually.
That I like.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the ones. I got this massive box of opera last year.
Yeah, we actually do have that album.
So, on that note, before we go, remember, you can always send questions or anything that you have to us at our individual Twitters. Mine's is at Jersey Dokes on Twitter. Yours is Optimistic.
Optimistic. At Optimistic on Twitter. At Optimistic on Instagram. Fred Van Ness Tenor. .com or Fred Van Ness Tenor fan page on Facebook as well.
We'd like to hear from you because we want to know how we're doing. If you're listening, we want to know how you're doing, and talk to us. Ask us questions. We're very happy to answer questions. I think the mailbag sequence that we did last time was pretty fun to do.
Oh, cool.
Pretty fun to do, and it's nice to know that you guys are out there and talking with us.
Yeah, I don't think, is there anything else before we go? Is there any upcoming events or anything?
Not for me.
Okay. So there's one event coming up at the African American Meeting House in Boston, so please go online and check that out. It's the Frederick Douglass. The Frederick Douglass exhibit that is coming there, and that's in July, so definitely go check that out. I'm doing a Mozart Requiem with the Paul Midori Chorale July 15th, so I'll have information about that on my website. And I think that's it. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of it right now. So yeah.
Oh, post it on the Fads page if you do.
Yeah, post it. So now we can do our endings. Sorry.
So have a good week and God bless.
Yes, ciao for now.